Hello students, welcome to Epitome IAS. In today's session, we are going to discuss about e-governance and the basic fundamental difficulties. Okay. So this question was asked in the year 2025 mains. Okay. The question is about e-governance projects have a built-in bias towards technology and back-end integration than user-centric designs. Examine. Similar question was also asked in the previous year questions. But this question is related more about technical dimensions of e-governance. Okay, so it means we cannot study the e-governance in a superficial terms. We need to study in a particular pattern and particular way, so that the realistic problems can be identified. That must be the approach for the student to study about this particular topic, right? So anyway, first of all, before we understand the dimensions of the question, let us understand very briefly about what is e-governance. Okay, so what is e-governance, right? E-governance is nothing but it is a smart way to approach good governance. Smart way to approach good governance, right? So what is good governance? Good governance is nothing but it is citizen-centric governance. So it means governance to be understood in a more value-oriented way. Okay. In other words, values plus governance is nothing but good governance. Right, and this particular e-governance is a smart way. Why? Because it is aligning with the philosophy of the good governance. It is aligning with the philosophy of the good governance. Philosophy of the good governance because it is the governance method or technology that can help in the improvement of the services given to the people. And whatever the accountability, participation, rule of law, consensus, those kind of attributes that are there with the good governance, those are achieved through e-governance, right? And moreover, after LPG, the governments are focusing more upon service delivery. That is, we are able to understand the philosophy of the government called as minimum government and maximum governance. So in that direction, e-governance plays a strong role, right? So then what is e-governance? So e-governance is nothing but application of the ICT. Okay, application of ICT in the matters of governance, in the matters of service delivery. Application of ICT in the matters of service delivery. That is what called as e-governance, right? You try to improvise the services, you try to provide the services in a better manner by the usage of information technology or information and communication technology. Okay, right, or any tool that is available under the ICT. This makes the governance very much accessible to the people, and that will promote 3 E's. Okay, economy, efficiency and effectiveness of the governance, right? But you understand this particular dimension of the question. E-governance projects have built-in bias towards technology and back-end integration than user-centric designs examine. So the primary concern of this question is the government is providing services, okay, with lesser user utility and more, in the dimension of the control by the government or comfort of the government or convenience of the government. It is not considering the concerns of the citizen. Okay, government is giving more security, importance for the security, importance for the data integration and back-end methods rather than the services to be given to the citizens. Citizens are not able to get an access to the services in the accessible manner. So that is what the core concern of the question. So then in this particular question, how to write the introduction? Okay, right. So introduction, we generally give the context of this question. For example, we can write this way. Okay, e-governance models in India despite their utility in providing quality and accessible services to the citizens. They suffer from user centricity or citizen centricity. Okay, right. This is what the context of the question. Okay, so when you write this context of the question, right, then we need to write, okay, more often it is observed that the e-governance has limitations of so what is the question? Okay, built-in bias towards technology, and back-end integration, right? So this is how. Then how it is so? Okay, the reasons for this include, okay, right. So what do you write? First one, giving more focus on interdepartmental integration, okay, giving more focus on technology push models, right? Government is trying to bring this blockchain technology, AI and other things, okay. Similarly, strong vendor-centric models, okay, vendor-centric contracts. So whoever is strong in the technology and their technology is being taken, and it is leading to vendor-centric models rather than user-centric models, right? And similarly, projects are designed by software engineers and bureaucrats, okay, giving lesser scope for UX experts and behavioral analysts, behavioral analysis, right? And similarly, giving more importance for authentication, and database integration, or interoperability. Okay, interoperability. These are the back-end issues. These are built-in bias. These are nothing but built-in bias. Okay, so these are the primary reasons. For example, first one, giving more focus on interdepartmental integration. So giving a common platform for different departments, but unfortunately they are ignoring the concerns of the people's access. And giving more focus on technology push models. Okay, so they are trying to find new technology always, but fail to understand whether this technology is relevant to the people who are having the accessibility issues. Strong vendor centric models. Basically the software companies will come up with different models, and they are pushing their own methods. Projects are designed by software engineers and bureaucrats, giving lesser scope for UX and US experts and behavioral analysts. I will explain what are the US experts. Okay, and giving more importance for authentication and database integration or interoperability. So they are giving more place for the government. Okay, in other words, this approach underscores more on government rather than governance. Governments want to retain more control over the user data, but at the same time they are not equally committed or equally focusing upon the ease of service delivery. Okay, right. So I will tell you some facts, right. For example, if you try to look at the present e-governance paradigm, we are able to find certain things like only 38% of the government websites are having the user access, okay, accessibility, only just 38%. And nearly 52% of the rural Indians depend upon assisted service. 52% rural people depend upon assisted service. Assisted service means what? They depend upon common service centers. Okay, and next 45% of the service delivery complaints related to authentication or user interface. How many? 45%. So authentication means there is a difficulty in accessing the services from the government because of the complexity in the user interface. And next important thing is India ranks 1 or 3rd among 193 countries in the e-penetration index. E-penetration index. This is the data of 2022. You just understand, if you understand these dynamics or these dimensions, it is quite clear that Indian e-governance models are not completely addressing the ecosystem specific problems. Okay, so basically if you try to look at the models that we are promoting in the present times are having certain issues. For example, there is a concept called as one size fits all approach. Okay, so first important issue we can understand is, as a result there is one size fits all approach. So it appears that there is a perception that everybody is English literate. Okay, so everybody is educated, everybody is a software engineer. So that is how the apps and the websites are being designed. I will tell you some of the important websites which are having fundamental issues. Like for example, there is also digital divide. Second one is there is digital divide. So digital divide means not necessarily rural and urban divide, but among the users, the elderly, disabled people are not able to utilize the online services without any assistance. And third one is lack of design thinking. Lack of design thinking. What is the meaning of design thinking? Design thinking means, for example, UX experts, user experience experts. For example, if you try to look at a mobile phone, a given app, so there is an app. So this app, how this app is to be designed, okay? What must be screen flow, okay? How buttons are to be placed, what is the color combination, okay, right? And right, what is the navigation, what is the ease of navigation within the app. So these issues are to be addressed by UX experts. They design better screen, okay, for the users to experience the usage of the app, okay. Similarly, there are also behavioral analysts. This behavioral analyst will be understanding certain questions, whether the user is comfortable with the the interface or not, okay. For example, you might see sometimes if you try to look at, suppose land we can say, suppose the Runny app or such kind of land record, online land record portal. What will happen? The farmers will find very fearsome. They will get literally feared. Why? Because is there any chance of entering wrong entry into that particular column? Because there are certain instances where the columns are very closely spaced, okay. That may be creating the fear that they may be committing some error, okay. And how the people understand this app, okay. So whether this app is creating any behavioral issues, right? For example, is it creating confusion, okay, or is it creating some sort of scope for making some errors? So those ideas are to be analyzed through behavioral analysis. So they will be designing the application in the more user centric manner. They will come into the shoes of the user and they will think, okay, how to design that particular software or how to make that application to be visible to the user. So that is what is a lack of design thinking, right? And next one is low policy emphasis on inclusion. That means lesser degree of inclusion, okay. So inclusion means whether the technology can be used by every user group or not, okay. Not only youth population but also elderly, women, every kind of people, even illiterates must be able to use the application without any difficulty, right? And there is also inadequate testing. So there are no proper prototypes. In fact, the second ARC, second administrative reforms, we can mention these kind of important points here. The second ARC has clearly said that there must be more space for citizen centricity, more scope for citizen centricity rather than merely technology demonstration. So the e-governance cannot become a platform for the demonstration of technology, okay. And there must be designing of the e-governance model based on the need and necessity. Just for the sake of implementing technology, the department shall not be conceiving that particular e-governance. So that is how second ARC has recommended, right? Right. After writing all these things, we need to write some way forward, okay. So first of all, what is a way forward? So way forward, we can write the second ARC has recommended there must be more user centricity, okay, rather than technology demonstration rather than technology demonstration. Number 2, there must be more focus on there must be more focus on the BPR, business process re-engineering. Okay, right. And number 3, we can also suggest some better user centric designs by taking the services of UX and behavioral analysts. Okay, so this is how. Next, adequate testing of technology before it gets launched. More focus on what is it? Assisted helping, assisted governance by taking the help of common service centers. There must be a scope for co-creation of models. So, by consulting the civil society experts, okay, and freelancers, we can devise better methods. Okay, right. So, there are certain examples we can also cite. So, for example, you can take certain difficult interfaces. We can write certain difficult interfaces such as CoWIN. Okay, this is not this is COVID related vaccination portal. It was not user centric. Okay, so particularly elderly could not access and rural area people could not access. And there is also another problem associated with e-courts. It is mostly English. Okay, and it is not supporting e-filing. Very clumsy information. There is no clear classification. Okay, similarly we can say PM Kisan. PM Kisan is facing a lot of authentication errors. So making the farmers to always approach common service centers regarding their things. Okay, similarly land records portal, land records. So there is also lack of user centricity, because farmers will get confused using the clumsiness of the information that is over there. So it is more about back-end integration rather than helping the citizens to get their services done, right? Similarly, we have another important thing is, yes, these are the basic issues which we can see, right? Yes, there is also a problem with respect to GST network. So this is not favorable to the small vendors and the small business operators. So it is also providing a lot of complexity. Okay, these are certain examples for less user centricity, and you can write better user interfaces like DigiLocker. Okay, DigiLocker. So this kind of things are Arogya Setu. So those are the things which are very much user friendly. Okay, this is how we are required to write the answer. Okay, so I hope you understood how to write the answer. Okay. So look at this, we have written e-governance introduction. I mean the context of the question as an introduction, where we have written e-governance models in India despite their utility providing quality and accessible services to citizens. They suffer from citizen centricity, more often it is observed that e-governance has limitations of built-in bias towards technology and back-end integration. The reasons for this include like giving more focus on interdepartment integration, giving more focus on technology push models, strong vendor-centric models. Projects are designed by software engineers and bureaucrats. Okay, giving lesser scope for UX experts and behavioral analysts, giving more importance for authentication and database integration and interoperability. This approach underscores more on government rather than governance. So then we moved on to the consequences of this thing. One size fits all, digital divide, lack of design thinking, lesser degree of inclusion, inadequate testing. Okay, we have suggested the reasons also, explain the reasons also. Then we need to write the examples for this particular thing. Why, I mean, in which sense there is no proper backend, there is no user centricity and more focus on backend integration. So using these examples we can explain that. And lastly we have written way forward, that is SARC, Second Administrative Reforms Commission has recommended there must be more user centricity, there must be more focus on BPR, user centric designs by taking UX and business analysts, adequate testing of technology before it gets launched, more focus on assisted governance, and there must be scope for co-creation of the content. So this is how we need to systematically understand the question and write the answer. Okay, I hope you are able to find good content over here, and please be interactive with respect to your chart and inputs or doubts, whatever it might be. Okay, and stay tuned to Epitome IAS.